Have you ever stopped to think that maybe your life is stuck because of your mouth? It sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. Many people fast, pray, read the Bible, but continue saying every day, "Nothing works out for me. I wasn't born for this. It's always harder in my case." And then they want heaven to move. The truth is harsh. What comes out of your mouth reveals whether you're an ally or saboteur of your own destiny. It seems crazy to say that a word can change your health, your marriage, your finances, but that's exactly what happens. And it's not me saying this. It's God's word. The same book that says faith moves mountains also states that the tongue has the power of life and death. And the worst part, most people use this power against themselves every day without even realizing it. If you want to unlock your spiritual, emotional, and even financial life, you need to understand what almost no one has told you. Miracles begin with speech. And in this video, I'm going to show you how adjusting what you say can completely change what you experience, starting today. But first, let me tell you something that might seem simple, but is more powerful than you imagine. Have you noticed that the greatest spiritual warfare recorded in the Bible between Jesus and the devil didn't have swords or thunder? It was fought with words, simple words spoken at the right moment with authority. This teaches us that the mouth has more power than we imagine. Many people live trapped in negative cycles because they haven't yet learned to use their mouth as a tool of creation, not destruction. Imagine going 7 whole days without complaining about anything. No gossip, no irony, no subtle criticism that seems innocent but weighs heavy in the air. It seems simple, but try it. This small challenge can be a game changer because you'll realize how much you speak impulsively and how much your words reflect what's most hidden in your interior. And when that changes, everything around you also begins to change. It's like adjusting a camera lens. Reality remains there, but you start seeing with more clarity. Words are filters. When you exchange complaint for gratitude, what changes isn't just the discourse. It's the energy that surrounds you, the way others perceive you, and even the results you attract. And that's where biblical wisdom comes in. It has an example that shows well what happens when someone chooses to speak with wisdom instead of reacting impulsively. The story of David, Nabal, and Abigail is a practical lesson about the power of a well-placed word. David, after protecting Nabal's goods, only wanted a simple gesture of gratitude, but what he received was contempt, mockery, and rudeness. And here's the point. Nabal didn't use weapons, he used words, and almost provoked a tragedy. David's reaction would be immediate: destruction. But someone rose up with wisdom. Abigail entered the scene like a balm. She didn't arrive shouting, nor with loud justifications. She came with gentle words, with humility and vision. And notice, it wasn't just her house that was spared, it was her own future that changed. Later, she would become David's wife. And it all started with how she chose to speak. The tone changes the course of conversation, and the course of conversation changes destinies. Many people live like Nabal. They speak without thinking, hurt those who don't deserve it, lose what they didn't need to lose. And others, like Abigail, know that a minute of wisdom can be worth more than a lifetime of regret. If you stop to think, how many situations in your life could have been resolved or avoided with the right word at the right moment? And speaking of right words, there's something even deeper behind all this. The Bible says that whoever controls the tongue is capable of controlling the whole body. That's there in James chapter 3. It might seem like an exaggeration at first glance, but think with me. How many times has your mouth put you in difficult situations? Sometimes it's not even malice. It's lack of filter, of self-control. The mind thinks, but it's the tongue that gives form. And what repeats becomes belief, habit, and finally, destiny. That's why some people live prophesying scarcity without realizing it. Nothing works out for me. I was born to suffer. My marriage is over. All of these are seeds thrown into one's own life. Have you seen anyone watering a plant with poison expecting it to bloom? Exactly. The same applies to the words that come out of your mouth. The mind might even know what's right, but if the tongue doesn't agree, the miracle gets stuck. A good exercise is simple. Start observing your words for a whole day. Write down what you repeat most. You'll be shocked at how much your speech reveals about your deepest beliefs. And by realizing this, the power of transformation is born, because the same mouth that curses can bless. And the curious thing, when we truly learn this, we begin to perceive more clearly the type of people around us. Living with certain people is like breathing polluted air. Gradually, you become intoxicated without even realizing it. Some people speak in superlatives all the time. Everything is the worst, the most difficult, the end of the world. Others only talk about themselves, as if the universe revolved around their own belly button. And then there are the gossip champions, who live spreading fragments of truths mixed with poison. It's in this environment that the greatest emotional wear is born. These voices shape your thoughts. Have you noticed how after talking to someone very negative, your energy seems drained? Words are vibrations. And when you surround yourself with distorted speeches, you start repeating patterns without wanting to. It's like hearing a bad song several times and suddenly catching yourself humming it. The danger is there. Repetition becomes internalization. And what you hear frequently ends up becoming part of who you are. Therefore, distance yourself from those who only know how to criticize, dramatize, and distort. If you want to grow, you need to protect your ears with the same seriousness that you protect your heart. You know that friend who always finds a but for every dream of yours? Or that person who makes jokes that diminish you disguised as humor? These voices don't deserve an echo, because while you're listening to them, you might never realize that you can be a source of fresh water for those around you. Have you noticed how, after hearing a phrase a lot, it starts to seem true? Men are no good. Money is dirty. Those who love suffer. These are ideas that repeat so much in conversation circles, social media, songs, that they end up becoming part of the vocabulary, and worse, of life. The Bible compares this to water sources. If the water that comes out of your mouth is bitter, it's a sign that the source also needs cleaning. What you say frequently reveals what you truly believe. Coexistence has a profound effect. Those who walk with those who only murmur begin to murmur. Those who live with those who curse their own future end up finding this normal. And that's why some environments always seem charged, heavy, difficult. It's not the place, it's the speeches that hover there. On the other hand, being with people who speak with faith, hope, and truth transforms. It's like breathing fresh air after time in a closed environment. You can be that source. Start observing how you respond to everyday situations. Bad news arrives. Do you curse or declare that you'll overcome? A frustration happens. Do you vent with anger or with faith? The invitation here is for you to be like that fresh water source in the middle of the desert, the one that refreshes, heals, and inspires. And speaking of inspiration, there's a habit that can completely change the course of your life if you decide to practice it every day. David didn't defeat Goliath just with a stone. The battle began much earlier, when he opened his mouth and declared with faith that he would defeat that giant. His words came loaded with conviction, not doubt. And that's what many people still haven't understood. Before the miracle manifests in reality, it needs to be born in speech. That's why declaring blessings over your life, your home, and your family every day isn't just beautiful. It's powerful. Have you tried first thing in the morning saying out loud, "Today will be a blessed day. I will live miracles. I will prosper. My health will flourish." It seems too simple to be real, but it works. Because when the Spirit hears its own mouth declare life, the mind begins to align actions with that truth. And you know what's most interesting? Even the environment around you begins to respond differently. The doors that seemed locked move. This type of practice shapes the future because it trains your vision. When you declare faith instead of fear, your mind begins to see solutions where before it only saw problems. It's like turning on a flashlight in a dark room. The darkness is still there, but now you know where to go, and that changes everything. Now, if there's a place where the power of words reaches the highest level, it's when they're used to connect with the Creator. Jesus' disciples saw miracles, healings, multiplications, but what they asked to learn wasn't how to do all that. They asked, "Lord, teach us to pray." That says a lot. Because prayer isn't just a spiritual practice, it's a lesson on how to use words effectively. It's through prayer that you learn to communicate with God and consequently communicate better with the world. And the more you pray, the more your words align with purpose. Praying isn't repeating ready-made phrases or memorizing verses. It's talking to God with truth, with intention, with an open heart. It's a place where you train your speech to be cleaner, more sincere, more powerful. When you pray with faith, you're declaring the invisible as if it were already visible. This changes everything, the way you talk to your children, with your spouse, with your co-workers. A spirit trained in prayer doesn't get confused in everyday conversation. And there's more. Prayer cleans the mind. It organizes thoughts, calms impulses, and refines perception. It's no wonder that after praying, many people say they feel lighter. It's because they put out with words what they were carrying in silence. And this verbal cleansing is the first step to improving all your human relationships, because where there's clarity in the spirit, there's precision in words. In times when everyone wants to be right, knowing when to stay quiet is almost a superpower. And even more, knowing how to speak in a way that heals, not hurts. Some people pride themselves on being too honest, but forget that honesty without wisdom is disguised cruelty. The words that come out of your mouth can be like scalpels, they cut to heal, or like blades, they wound without reason, and the difference lies in intention and tone. How many times in the heat of conflict have you said something you later regretted? A phrase spoken impulsively can open a wound that takes years to heal. Sometimes the other person even forgives, but doesn't forget. That's why we need to be more intentional. If you're going to open your mouth, let it be to save. A sincere compliment, an apology, a well-placed "I understand you" can restore bridges that seemed fallen. Words are bridges or walls, and you decide what you build with them. This applies to marriage, relationships with children, friends, and even strangers. Some people change someone else's day just with a supportive phrase. Others, unfortunately, tear down self-esteem with half a dozen criticisms. Now imagine what would happen if everyone started aligning what they say with what they really feel. Speaking beautifully doesn't help if the heart is messy. Have you noticed how some people know how to say everything right, but you feel that truth is missing? It's because the heart and mouth aren't on the same frequency. The Bible says that the mouth speaks from what fills the heart. And when this alignment happens genuinely, even God moves more quickly. Empty words confuse even heaven, but words with soul touch the invisible. Many people don't understand why they pray, speak, declare, and nothing happens. The answer might be in this internal misalignment. You say you've forgiven, but inside you're still full of hurt. You say you trust, but live consumed by fear. And then, even speaking, your words don't carry strength. Because when the heart contradicts what the mouth affirms, the result gets stuck. True faith begins with integrity between what you feel and what you say. Want a practical exercise? Before saying something important, a prayer, a difficult conversation, a professional decision, stop, breathe, and ask, does my heart agree with this? If the answer is no, Hold your tongue until you find clarity. Words spoken with integrity have an almost magnetic power. They're not just heard, they're felt. And this, in the spiritual and emotional world, changes everything. And speaking of change, think now about the impact that words have. Far beyond your personal universe, words are seeds that spread through generations. What a father says to his child, even without thinking, can become a truth that shapes an entire life. A "you're stupid" can echo into adulthood, sabotaging talents. On the other hand, an "I believe in you" can raise a giant. Words create narratives, and narratives create identities. The home, school, work, all are stages where speeches shape futures. And if we widen the lens, we'll see that words also build or destroy nations. Leaders who inflame hatred with divisive speeches, business people who demotivate their teams with veiled threats, opinion makers who spread fear instead of vision. All this starts with loose words, but soon becomes structures, cultures, policies, war and peace, misery and prosperity, chaos and order. Everything can be ignited by speech. That's why care with what you say needs to go beyond personal life. It's a collective responsibility. If each person took care of their own words, like they take care of what they post on social media, the world would be different. A public compliment can lift a child's self-esteem. A well-intentioned political speech can change a city. A sincere good morning can heal someone who was on the brink of collapse. But not everyone believes this carries so much weight, right? Let's look at the numbers then. 99% of people make mistakes in what they say. The Bible states that whoever doesn't stumble in what they say is a perfect person. And if you stop to think, this makes total sense. Because most of the confusion, fights, losses and regrets in life begin with a misplaced word. This shows how common it is to err in speech. About 99% of people, according to this logic, speak more than they should, or in ways they shouldn't. And the curious thing, they think the problem is always with others. This data forces us to reflect. Could I be part of those 99%? Could I be, without realizing it, sabotaging my growth with phrases like, "I can't handle it," "This isn't for me," "It's too late"? Often, defeat begins within one's own mouth. And it's not even out of malice. It's out of habit, repetition, coexistence with empty speeches. And as the saying goes, a closed mouth catches no flies, but also doesn't launch blessings. That's why becoming part of the 1% who watch their words is almost a personal revolution. Those who control the tongue have an advantage in life, in business, in marriage, in emotional health, because they speak with wisdom, with intentionality, with purpose. And life, like fertile ground, responds better to those who plant the right words. But what about when this wrong word doesn't just close a door, but destroys everything once and for all? A wrong word can cause dismissal, divorce, war, just one slip. A misplaced phrase in a meeting can cost you your job. An impulsive comment at home can become grounds for separation. An ill-timed word spoken by a political leader can light the fuse of conflict between nations. It's scary to think about this, but it's real. Many of the greatest tragedies began with words. And the most impressive thing is that almost no one realizes this at the time. The Bible is full of examples. Moses, for instance, lost the right to enter the promised land because of a verbal reaction. He spoke with anger, acted without control, and this had eternal consequences. In the real world, it's easy to remember similar situations. A racist joke on national television, a leaked audio in a work group, a thoughtless outburst that becomes a screenshot. All of this can destroy years of reputation in minutes. That's why guarding the tongue isn't weakness, it's strategic intelligence. If the right word builds, the wrong one tears down. And the worst part, it can't be unspoken. Once said, it leaves your mouth, but enters someone's heart. Sometimes, never to leave. And as James says, A single spark is capable of setting an entire forest on fire. Let's talk about this now. A single spark can destroy a forest. Have you seen the damage a match can do in dry woods? The Bible compares the tongue to this type of spark. Small, apparently harmless, but capable of causing a devastating fire. So it is with words. A rumor spread at work can end someone's career. A criticism made in public can kill a child's self-esteem. A lie told on impulse can destroy an entire family. The most dangerous thing is that often whoever releases the spark doesn't even realize the size of the damage. The person says, "It was just a joke. You misunderstood." That's not exactly what I meant to say. But words don't have an erase key. And when they find dry ground, that is, a vulnerable heart, the damage is even greater. Therefore, knowing how to speak is as important as knowing when to be silent. Silence, sometimes, saves more than 1,000 pieces of advice. And you know what's most beautiful about all this? The same power that destroys also builds. If a spark can burn a forest, a spark of truth can light a fire of faith. You can choose to be someone who fans embers or who puts out fires. And for that, you just need to learn to master your mouth. Now that you've seen the gigantic impact that words have, maybe it's time to look at them with different eyes. Now tell me, after all this, are you still going to keep saying that you can't do it, that it's too difficult, or that it's too late to change? Maybe the only thing separating you from the future God dreamed for you is the way you talk to the world and to yourself. What has been coming out of your mouth in recent days? Faith or frustration? Blessing or curse? The life you want can start with a simple habit: watching your words. Have you imagined how your finances would be if, in recent months, you had declared prosperity every day? Or how your marriage would be if you had used your mouth to build up instead of complaining? That's right. Maybe it's not magic, but it's spiritual, and it works. The question is, are you going to apply it or just watch? If this content awakened you, if it gave you that click in your heart, then go ahead and hit like and subscribe to the channel. Here we talk about real transformation that starts from the inside out. And if you know someone who lives complaining, send them this video with a message: you speak and heaven listens.